a proud and fiery ruler named Kale, who governed the... Long ago, in a land of rolling hills and shimmering rivers, there lived a wise and mighty king named Alden. He ruled over the prosperous kingdom of Eloria, known for its golden fields and towering castles. Among his most prized possessions was a magnificent sword named Luminaris, forged by the finest blacksmiths and imbued with a spirit of its own. The sword was not just a weapon, but a symbol of peace, though it had never been used in battle. King Alden was a lover of art and celebration. His grand palace was always filled with music, laughter, and the clinking of goblets. But one day a dispute arose between Alden and his neighboring king, a proud and fiery ruler named Kale, who governed the rugged kingdom of Varandor. The disagreement began over a small strip of land, but quickly escalated into a feud that neither king could ignore. As tensions grew, both kings declared war. Luminaris, the sword, was thrilled. It had spent its life gleaming in the palace, admired but unused. Now it would finally prove its worth on the battlefield. It dreamed of glory, of shining in the sun as it clashed against enemy blades, of being celebrated as the hero of Eloria. But when Luminaris arrived at the front lines, its dreams shattered. The battlefield was not a place of honor or glory. Instead, it was a grim wasteland of broken shields, shattered spears, and men crying out in pain. The air was thick with the stench of blood and smoke. Soldiers lay dying, their faces pale and their eyes hollow. There was no food, no water, and no hope. Luminaris trembled in its scabbard. This was not what it had imagined. War was not a grand spectacle, but a cruel and senseless tragedy. That night, as the campfires flickered and the soldiers tried to rest, the sword made a decision. It would not be a tool of destruction. It would fight for peace. Suddenly, Luminaris began to vibrate. At first, it was a soft hum, like the whisper of a breeze, but soon the hum grew louder, turning into a sharp, metallic ring that echoed across the camp. The other swords and shields, startled by the noise, began to murmur among themselves. "What are you doing, Luminaris?" asked a battered shield. "I refuse to be part of this war," Luminaris declared. "War brings only pain and suffering. If we can keep the soldiers awake, they will be too tired to fight. Join me and let us sing a song of peace." Inspired by Luminaris's courage, the other weapons joined in. Swords hummed, shields rattled, and spears clanged together in a symphony of protest. The noise grew so loud that it reached the enemy camp, where Varandor's weapons, equally weary of war, joined the chorus. The soldiers tossed and turned, unable to sleep. Even King Alden and King Kale, in their luxurious tents, found no rest. By morning, the armies were exhausted. The battle was postponed, but the weapons did not relent. Night after night, they sang their song of peace, drowning out the drums of war. On the seventh day, the two kings, bleary-eyed and frustrated, agreed to meet. At first, they glared at each other, their pride still smoldering. But as they spoke, their anger began to fade. They laughed about the sleepless nights, the chaos in their camps, and the strange rebellion of their weapons. "It seems even our swords are tired of this feud," King Alden said with a chuckle. King Kale nodded, a smile breaking through his stern expression. "Perhaps they are wiser than we are." The two kings talked late into the night, sharing stories of their kingdoms and their people. They realized that their differences were small compared to what they had in common. By dawn, they had reached an agreement. The war would end, and the disputed land would be shared. As the armies returned home, Luminaris gleamed with pride. It had not won a battle, but it had won something far greater: peace. From that day on, King Alden and King Kale ruled not as rivals but as friends, often meeting to discuss their kingdoms and share a laugh about the time their weapons had taught them a lesson. Years later, the two kingdoms of Eloria and Varandor flourished like never before. The strip of land that once caused so much strife became a symbol of unity. It was transformed into a beautiful garden where children from both kingdoms played together and families gathered for festivals. Luminaris, the Sword of Harmony, was placed in the center of the garden, not as a weapon, but as a monument to peace. A golden plaque beneath it read, "In unity, there is strength. In peace, there is prosperity." Every year on the anniversary of the Great Protest, the people of Eloria and Verendor celebrated the Day of Harmony. They sang, danced, and told the story of the sword that refused to fight and the kings who chose friendship over war. What we learn from this story: true strength lies not in fighting, but in finding ways to live together in peace. Even the smallest voice, when raised for what is right, can change the world.